Welcome to Penguin Village, where penguins live, work, and trade. Here's how their world works. Penguins earn seaweed, which they use to buy fish, the food, products, and services they need. And for the future, penguins can buy future fish tokens, which are like stocks, promises of fish they might get later. Today, we're going to see what happens when prices go up or down, when penguins experience inflation and deflation. In a normal day, one seaweed buys one fish. Penguins are happy, businesses are running smoothly, and everyone knows how much things cost. It's a simple, predictable life. But sometimes things change. One day, the Penguin Council notices something worrying. Penguin shops are quiet, fish sellers are frustrated, and ice slide builders have stopped their work. Penguins are holding on to their seaweed instead of spending it. The whole village feels frozen. The council asks, why is the economy slowing down? A few weeks earlier, Penguin Village faced a huge supply shock. A powerful winter storm smashed fishing boats, cracked ice bridges, and buried the sea routes penguins use to transport fish. Fish farms were hit the hardest. Pools froze solid, feeding machines broke, and penguins couldn't raise fish normally. Because of this destruction, far fewer fish reached the markets. And when something becomes rare, its price rises. The cost of catching and transporting fish shot up. Shops had little to sell, and whatever they did manage to get was very expensive. This was the beginning of cost-push inflation. Prices rising because fish became harder and costlier to produce. Penguins felt the pain immediately. A single fish now required much more seaweed than before. Daily life became expensive, so penguins stopped spending. They bought fewer meals, skipped toys, and stopped booking ice slide rides. The slowdown spread across the village. Fish sellers grumbled, toy makers earned less, and construction crews put down their tools. Businesses couldn't handle rising costs and stopped hiring. Penguins grew nervous and started saving all their seaweed. Seeing this, the Penguin Council frowned. Penguins aren't spending because everything has become too expensive, they said. If this continues, shops will shut down and workers will lose their income. We need to get seaweed flowing again. So the council decides to bring the village back to life by giving penguins more seaweed. But where does this extra seaweed come from? The council doesn't grow seaweed magically. Instead, they tell penguin banks to increase lending. Banks begin handing out seaweed loans more easily. The council also spends seaweed directly, hiring penguins to rebuild slides, giving fish farms subsidies, and launching new village projects. Suddenly, the village wakes up. Penguins borrow seaweed. Penguins spend seaweed. Shops fill up again. Ice slides reopen. At first, everyone is thrilled. But soon, a new problem appears. There is more seaweed in the village, but the number of fish is still the same as before. Penguins now start competing to buy fish. With so many penguins waving seaweed in their flippers, fish sellers raise prices again. One fish that used to cost one seaweed now costs two, then three. This is the second type of inflation, demand-pull inflation, where there is too much seaweed chasing too few fish. So in Penguin Village, inflation can grow from either side of the economy. Cost-push inflation, when a storm or disaster makes fish rare and expensive. Demand-pull inflation, when penguins suddenly have more seaweed to spend. Sometimes cost-push starts it, sometimes demand-pull starts it. Sometimes both happen together. Either way, both forces can raise prices and heat up the entire village economy.
One day, the Penguin Council notices something different. Shops are full of fish, ice slides are empty, and penguins are holding on to their seaweed tighter than ever. The village feels unusually quiet, as if the ice itself has slowed time. The council asks, why aren't penguins spending? A few weeks earlier, the Penguin Council decided to reduce the amount of seaweed in the village. They did this on purpose, to prevent prices from rising too quickly after the last seaweed boost, to make sure penguins don't borrow too much seaweed and create another inflation problem, to keep the economy stable and avoid overheating the village market. With less seaweed circulating, penguins suddenly had less to spend. Fewer penguins were buying fish, toys, or ice slide tickets. Shops were full, but customers weren't spending. Fish sellers, toy makers, and ice slide operators began lowering prices to attract penguins. One fish that used to cost 5 seaweed now costs just 1. This is deflation. Prices falling because there is less cash in the village to chase goods. Deflation can be good or bad. Good deflation happens when productivity improves. For example, fish farms become more efficient or new fishing routes open. Prices fall, but penguins still have seaweed to spend. Shops stay busy, ice slides keep running, and the village thrives. Bad deflation happens when demand falls. Penguins have less seaweed, stop spending, and prices drop because shops can't sell their goods. Factories produce less fish, ice slide builders pause work, and future fish tokens lose value. The village economy slows down, and jobs are at risk. Sometimes deflation starts from improved supply, sometimes from reduced spending. Either way, the council realizes too little cash flowing can freeze the economy, even if prices fall. Penguins need balance, enough seaweed to keep fish prices fair, shops busy, and ice slides running.